Welcome to Game Crunch, your weekly video game podcast. My name is Mike Anastasia. With me today we got Brandon.
Hello,
We're going to talk about games and things.
games and things.
Definitely games and things. I don't know what's on the agenda today. We'll get to it though. Um, I'll start off. I can start talking about my things. So, what did I do this week? So, I finished up Princess Peach Showtime. That is done.
Okay,
So that is good.
how
I
was it?
enjoy. I enjoyed the rest of it actually. I still think it's just kind of like a fun little game to just kind of mess around with. It's a like I said, solid action platformer, and I think it has some fun mechanics to it. And I still think that with the right team, with a sequel or something kind of in line with this, I think they could do something really fun and enjoyable for everyone. So
Hmm.
I think that's pretty nice. There's a bunch of unlockables that happen after you beat the game too, kind of like some challenge modes and some boss modes to kind of go back through and kind of replay things. And then obviously there's some you can go back through and collect the missing collectibles that you had. And some new ones. There's some like hidden things to go through and hunt for. But yeah, I really enjoyed my time with it. Not like I said, not super deep. And someone who's looking for like a challenge, like platformer wise, probably not going to find it. But you'll probably find a challenge and maybe some of the unlockable stuff. Um, Still pretty simplistic at the end of the day, but enjoyable, I would say. So that's kind of my final thoughts on that one. So there's that. I don't know if it would have made, I guess, kind of to the comment that you made about your friend that played it last year. I don't know if I don't know if this would have made my like end of the year list like what we usually do, but um for 2024, but I at least probably would have been maybe like a notable mention. I don't think it was as forgettable as your friend said, but definitely not like top tier like platform or anything like that. Nintendo definitely has better stuff in their arsenal overall too. But like I said it's fun for what it is. Um, Otherwise, I put a lot more time into Luigi's Mansion 2 this last week, so I've gotten through the first couple mansions now, and I realized that. So even though this is, I think we talked about it last week, so this is an HD like upgrade. This is not considered like a remaster. There's no quality of life fixes in this game. But as I was playing it yesterday, I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, I actually am enjoying this more than I expected to, considering how much I disliked the game before I got it. And I was like, but they didn't change anything. So I'm like, why is this game more fun to play? Well, so part of my issues with the game, when I played last time is it's very interrupty. Like as soon as you do something, you'll get like a message from EGAD and it'll be like, oh, you gotta do this, or you gotta do this, or we're taking you back to the base now. So you really don't get a lot of time to do certain things, or maybe you'll miss things, or it's mission based, so you're going through things and kind of like certain flow. It's not like the other Luigi's Mansion 1 or 3 where you kind of get like the ability to just kind of explore as you want to. Like you're going through this in like a mission based structure with multiple mansions. So I was like, well, that hasn't changed. And I'm like, those are still the things that I like the least. But I'm like, well, something obviously is better now, what it is. And I thought about it and I've realized it comes down to two things. And it's both related to just the fact that it's an HD upgrade.
Hmm.
First one is the visuals. Like, A, it looks much nicer. But also B, because you're running on a big screen instead of the smaller resolution of the 3DS, it's a lot easier to see where things are. So I think part of it is things that I might have had difficulty seeing or finding when I was going through the first time, much more clear now. Like I don't feel like I'm lost a lot of times, which I don't remember if that was one of the issues before, but it's one of the things that has crossed my mind as I've played it because there are times where I'll get like I'm like, where am I gonna go? Like, what am I supposed to do? And I'll look around and I'll find this like small little thing to interact with, and that's the thing. And I'll be like, how the fuck did I ever find this on the 3DS screen? I don't know, but that's kind of one thing that I think makes it help. Everything's just kind of clear visually, so you can kind of see where things are. Second thing, which I really didn't think about until after the fact, and it makes a lot of sense, is the controls. The controls kind of fucking sucked on the 3DS after I thought about it, because the 3DS didn't have a second stick. So
Okay.
kind of hard to do Luigi's Mansion like controls when you don't have a second stick to do it. If I recall, I think you just did it with like the second set of buttons, and that's not great. So like a lot of the kind of like lateral movements and stuff just were like the horizontal and vertical movements, like when you're trying to vacuum, just not as easy as they should have been. And it's just so much better with a controller. You can vacuum things a lot better. They put in gyro controls, which I think the other game had too, if I recall, to kind of help with some of the things. But also not also great on a 3DS when you're using 3D. So another reason that this is kind of a little bit better. So yeah, I think between those two things, it's actually this actually makes it kind of like the definitive way to play it because it is just so much more easy to play, and it is just much easier to get through those missions. So I've gone through, like I said, a couple mansions so far, and I have been enjoying my time with it. I still think the things that annoyed me before are there. Like I said, the mission structure and a lot of the constant interruptions are very annoying. But like I said, it looks a lot nicer. It plays a lot nicer, just from a control standpoint, and that really does make a lot of difference. So even when I do run into some of those issues where I'm like, yeah, this is frustrating or annoying, not as detrimental as it was before. So uh even makes me want to go through and kind of replay some missions too, where I'll be like, oh, let me go through and see if I can find this boo this time or this other thing. I've actually been going through and kind of replaying some missions and trying to find some unlockables. I'm not planning to do like 100% because there is surprisingly a lot of different things to consider with this game in terms of completion. Like you have all the boos to go find. Each mission has its own hidden boo, but then you also have the across the mansion a whole bunch of hidden gems to go find through, and you get unlockables if you collect all the gems. And each mission has you're graded on a kind of obtuse grading scale, with a score between 1 and 3 stars. So to 100% everything you have to go through. You have to collect all the booze. You have to collect all the gems. You have to 3-star all the missions. And I'm like, that's too much. I'm like, I'm not that invested in this game, especially considering that my time for this game is going to be very limited very soon. So just kind of, getting through with what it is. I already kind of mentally planned on this game being more of a slow burn, just because I didn't want to burn myself out on it. And that's kind of what my plan has been so far. Take, a couple missions at a time here and there and just kind of gradually get through it. But I will say, even though I do still think that this is the lesser of the three Luigi's Mansions, this version is vastly preferred over the 3DS one. So if you're gonna go with one, this is this version to go with. So otherwise, it does have a lot of fun things in it too that I didn't remember, like some of the mini boss fights, the boss battles in this game. At least a couple that I've gone through so far have been really enjoyable. I forgot how creative they were. Definitely much more so than say the first Luigi's Mansion, which had some not very exciting boss battles. So some of the stuff that they've kind of thought up with this one has been very good and kind of fits with the themes that they have. And I forgot too how much I like that each of the mansions kind of has their own theme to it. Um, but yeah, so I've really been enjoying that so far. I'll have an update again, I'm sure, as I progress through it. But that has been my time with it. Expect an update in probably a month or two. Like that's not gonna be. It'll be a slow burn. So I'm not planning on kind of updating it until I've had either a lot more time with it, beaten it, or run into some thing that really pisses me off and makes me want to talk about it again. So that's where Luigi's Mansion 2 is. So just for those wondering what I'm already anticipating that's going to be taking my time away from this, Xenoblade Chronicles X comes out this week. So it's already preloaded on my system. So that will be, the thing to talk about next week, once that is available. It's already been getting pretty good initial
Yeah, I heard
previews
that.
and reviews. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's gotten some decent quality of life fixes too, which is great.
I heard that
So
as well.
I'm excited to see what all is there. So, and I really hope I think I'm most curious to see what they did with the ending of this game, because I think out of the one thing that I've always remembered about this game, even though there's a lot of things there's a lot of things in my memory that I'm like, oh, I didn't like this, I didn't like that. I don't really have clear reasons why. I just kind of remember them being like slightly annoying. The one thing though that I do remember about this game more than anything was this had the most bullshit cliffhanger ending at a video game that I've ever seen in I don't know, my entire life existence of playing video games. So hopefully that's fixed and addressed, and I'm really curious to see what, if anything, they did with it, because I don't know if they can get away with doing the same thing twice, but they have added extra content, so presumably at least an epilogue to maybe soften the blow or give like a little tee up for whatever's next. That's what I'm hoping for. So yeah, we'll kind of circle back around on that next week. The only other thing I wanted to talk about this week, which I forgot about recently, and is video game related, even though it's a TV show. Mythic Quest started back up with their new season, and so I've been kind of watching through that, and that's been excellent, actually. I think that show's actually finally coming into its own for the most part. There's still some weird kind of choices that they make episode wise from time to time, but I think every show has that issue. But I will say some of the ones in this season, though, I've been like, oh, this episode's fucking amazing. Like, it really kind of takes you by surprise. Like, there was one kind of like murder mystery episode that I was like, oh, this is really well done. So that's been really enjoyable. It's been really funny. It's been hitting some high notes. And they're actually doing a mini spin-off show this season as well. So I think it comes out next week, but it's called Side Quest instead of Mythic Quest. And it's kind of like side stories to the TV show. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of what they end up doing with that. I'm kind of interested to see. But the previews for it look pretty good so far. So yeah, so if you have Apple TV and we're looking to check out some more of that, take a look, because it's been pretty enjoyable for so far. I think it's got maybe 2 more episodes left for this season, probably, considering how Apple usually does their shows. But yeah, very good so far. And it seems like it's setting up for at least something exciting for the wrap up of this season. So yeah, that I think is all I have to talk about so far.
Okay.
Yeah. So what have you been playing?
I got a few days ago a game called Coin Push Casino, which is actually a game. It's got like 80 different coin pushers in it.
Didn't you talk about this game before?
Nope, this is a completely different one.
Like a different coin pusher game?
Yep.
What was the last one you played?
I literally don't remember. I think it was an RPG one, the Coin Push RPG, which was a demo that I played during the demo time.
Oh, yeah, it was a demo one.
No, this is a full game. This is a full game. This is literally like you have to buy into each machine, and like you have to also re-earn your coins back and get a profit off of it so that you can continue to the next level. And it's pretty fun. Like, there's a lot of the actual physics system that's in here is so in depth that it makes it feel like really good when you're playing it. I really don't have a lot to say about this game. It's literally just a coin pusher with physics-based gameplay, and it works really, really well, and it's a lot of fun. I put 20 hours into it, and that's literally all I can say about it. It's good. It's a really good coin pushing simulator. See, like, whereas like the coin push RPG is closer to something like Slay the Spire, but with coin pushers, because it's like roguelike based and this, that, and the other, and running through this. And this is literally just you sit down at a coin pusher that's been like simulated, and you try to turn a profit so you can go on to the next stage. And that's every single level. And the buy-in gets more expensive as you go along, and you have to be able to not only reach back how much you put into the machine, but also make a profit so you can go on to the next machine. So that's essentially how that works. And there's like 3 different modes. There's a Zen mode, which gives you no time limit. There's arcade mode, which gives you a certain time limit to be able to turn that profit. And then there's there's classic mode. Then there's arcade mode. Arcade mode is like a bunch of wild things. Like, you have like perks and stuff. Like, you can use the ability of like Tornado, which picks all the chips up and like throws them around. And if they go into the coin chute, then hey, you get the coins. If not, they don't. And then you also play like a dice game and everything. Like, the arcade mode is the one that's the most expensive to buy into, but I think it's the most fun because there's so much to do there. But yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. And I played, like I said, 20 hours of it because it's very easy to like have playing in the background while you're doing something else. Yeah. So because you can also get a perk that allows you to put on autoplay. So then you draw out the place you want to drop the coins. Like, you draw it with your mouse, and then you turn on autoplay, and every few seconds it'll drop the coins in that position, so that you can play the game without really having to put in a lot of input. So I had that running for a while because I figured out like the trajectory. I needed different things to fall in so that I could, actually win the level. And some of these levels are like 15, 20 minutes long because of how much money you need to earn from playing them. And I like queued up an autoplay and started watching Invincible. So I watched Invincible for the first time.
Okay.
Have you watched this?
Nope, no clue what it is.
It's the animated superhero show on Amazon Prime.
Nope, never heard of it.
Okay, so I've only seen 3 episodes thus far, but I want to watch more because it's very, very good, and that's the best way I can explain it. So I think, at least from what I understand so far, there are different teams, and there's like an A team, and then there's like a B team, C team, and so on and so forth. And like the A team of it is they're kind of like the Avengers, essentially, right? And this group, they fight crime, they try to protect people, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. I think what the show did masterfully, like really really well, is kind of keep you on your toes, because this kind of felt like a Teen Titans, like the original Teen Titans, or like a Justice League for like the first 30 minutes of the show, I would say. Like, you may have like a shit or a damn thrown in here or there. And I was like, oh, okay, well, we're a little bit more, PG-13. But like, by the end of it, it got so incredibly violent that it was like borderline Mortal Kombat levels of gore in this show. And I was like, oh, we're doing this. Okay, then. And then like by the second episode, which, I mean, I'll just spoil this. So the show is about this kid who is like growing up, and he hasn't come into his superhero powers, and they don't think he's going to. And his father is essentially like Superman of the Justice League, but not really. His father's known as Omni-Man, and he's like the strongest of the heroes. Yada yada yada, blah blah blah. And he actually does get his powers, and you can tell his father's a little bit annoyed because he got his powers so late, and he's kind of like disappointed in him. So he like is kind of bringing him up with like tough love and trying to teach him how to be a superhero. And you're kind of like getting sitcom vibes. It's kind of like a whole family dynamic, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. His father's a bit reluctant to be a superhero father and bring him up, but by like the second episode, everything just goes fucking weird. Like someone calls the entire group, like the Avengers like group, to this base because there's a report of something bad going down, and they get there, and like Omni-Man just goes berserk and like gruesomely murders everyone. Every single one of the main superheroes, he gruesomely murders them. I mean, like grabbing them by the head and squeezing their head until like their eyes pop out of their socket, and then like using that person as like a weapon and smashing them on the ground into another superhero where like they just covered in their guts and shit. It's wild. It was crazy shit that was going down. But then the show becomes a murder mystery where a demon is trying to figure out who killed all these superheroes, because he's essentially a superhero himself, and the demon, like Sherlock Holmes like demon guy, is following the trail of who killed all these superheroes, because those heroes were also fighting back Omni-Man, and like he's never done anything like this before. So you, the viewer, know this, but every character in the show don't know who beat up Omni-Man and killed all the other superheroes, and they don't realize that it wasn't a supervillain, and it was a fight between all the superheroes themselves, and that Omni-Man killed every single one of them. So then there's this demon guy who essentially his power is the ability to like touch like viscera, like blood, gore, that sort of thing, and get like glimpses of what caused it. And he's a detective that kind of has gotten a bit of an idea from investigating the scene of the crime and found out who killed them, at least somewhat. And he's kind of stalking Omni-Man because he knows Omni-Man is the one that killed all of those other superheroes, or at least has an inkling that he is. And he's trying to figure out what's going on. And you're kind of seeing how this guy that's like all powerful is trying to raise a son, but also he's kind of a psychopath. And you slowly start to see that unravel as it's going along. So you've got like the high school bullshit, all of something like, like Power Rangers or whatever. Like, oh, it's first love. He likes this girl a lot. They're making out, but like he also needs to leave for a second because he needs to save the world and everything because his dad got injured from that fight that we know was a fight between all the other superheroes and his dad, but the show doesn't know that. So the show's trying to pass it off as there was some kind of big villain that did this, and like they're on 24-hour surveillance from like this team of specialists who's supposed to watch after them and make sure everything's okay. And it seems, at least from the outside looking in, for the first 3 episodes that I've seen of this, to be very, very well written and very interesting just in general, because it does have that dynamic of like, oh, we're edgy superheroes and superheroes are actually bad, all of something like The Boys or whatever. But it seems to go about it in a different way where it knows when certain characters are together, it's more like kind of a normal, like this is what kids would do, but like they're like normal characters. So like you have like someone that cheats on his girlfriend or whatever that's also a superhero, and yada 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 blah blah blah. But like, what would that look like if that person had superpowers or whatever or whatnot? And it's just fascinating watching the world that's been created in this show. It's a very interesting world, and it's really fun to like just watch and see how everything unfolds. It's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah, it sounds pretty interesting. Does the son know? I think that's one thing I missed.
No, the son does not know that he is the one that killed all the rest of them. Only us, the viewer, knows. No one in the show knows. And it's like a murder mystery where all the characters in the show are starting to unravel it slowly over time. So we, the viewer, saw it, but they didn't. And no one in the show knows what happened. So the mystery is going on with those characters, but as the viewer, what happened because you watched the whole fight scene. So
very interesting.
It's a really interesting concept. I like it. I don't know where it's going, but I really like the idea of it. And there's like this one part where like there was this guy that was like supposedly a supervillain. And like his father couldn't do anything because he was beat up. So the son goes out into space, and this is the first time he's ever been out into space. And he's like, "Dad, how do I breathe in space?" And his dad's like, "That's the neat thing. You don't." And then he has to like learn how to hold his breath in space and also fight and everything. And he like fights this one guy in space, and like they then like sit down on the moon for a second, and he just starts talking to him like, "How am I hearing you in my head?" And the like villain's like, "Oh, do you not know what's going on here?" And he's like, "No, aren't you like some big bad guy I'm supposed to defeat?" And the villain's like, "No, he's the equivalent of like checking up on if there are people to defend specific like worlds. Like, is there a defender for this world?" He comes in and wrecks shit, and if there's a defender for this world, then they pass their performance test, and he moves on to the next one. And then he's like, "You're Earth, right?" And he's like, "How is that?" He's like, "Why are you saying it like that? You are F." And like he spells it weird, and he's like, "That's not us." And he's like, "Ah, shit. I think I got the wrong planet." So like this guy's been coming to Earth for years doing this performance test to make sure like there's a hero here to protect the Earth, but it was never Earth that called him in. It was actually a different planet called Earth, like URF or something like that. And like the son is the first one to actually sit down and talk with him instead of just beating the shit out of him. And he's like, fuck, they're gonna have my job for this. Like he's like 10 plus years and I've fucked it up this whole time. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's very entertaining. It's very well written and it's very funny. So yeah, I like it a lot. I think there's a lot of different things going on here that is keeping me wanting to watch it, which I'm going to. So that's where I'm at with that.
Okay.
Moving on from that, I did also play more Monster Hunter Wilds. This game still runs like shit for me, but that brings me to my next tangent that I'm going to go off on. I bought a new computer.
Oh, jeez.
And by bought a new computer, I'm going to run you through this whole scenario essentially. Okay. So I saw that I could sell my Rock Band 4 stuff, like my drum kit, for a big chunk of money. I'll leave it at that. It
Yeah,
was
you mentioned it
a
last week.
very big chunk of money, and I did sell it for like almost $500.
Mhm.
And I didn't need a graphics card because I currently have a graphics card. I have a high-end graphics card already. So I don't need that. But what I did buy was a new case, a new motherboard, a new CPU, and new RAM. So I'm building a whole new computer and just transplanting my graphics card and power supply and memory, not
Mhm.
memory, but and SSD. Yeah, that's all I'm transporting from my old computer, and everything else I'm gonna resell online and get the money from that and put that towards like Switch 2 stuff. But yeah, I decided to buy a new computer essentially so that I could play Monster Hunter Wilds because it is still struggling with my old DDR4 AM4 platform, and I wanted to
Mhm.
get on AM5, and I found a deal for 450 that gave me the motherboard, the CPU, and the RAM all together. So I bought that, and then I bought my case for $69, and then I bought my cooler for like $30. So
Nice.
altogether, I spent like 550 for everything to like
Mhm.
rebuild a whole new computer, essentially. So
Not bad, actually.
yeah, especially since I went around town to like mom and pop computer shops, and they wanted to charge me 850 for it. And I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah,
No,
no.
thanks.
And that was just the CPU, motherboard, and RAM. That wasn't a case or anything else. That was just that. And I was like, nah, I'm good. So
Yeah, I
I
mean
got
you're
that
definitely
sitting.
more than qualified enough to build your own computer.
Yeah, I've got that sitting in my my like build room right now. Me and
Mhm.
Katie are gonna build it after the podcast. But I literally was on an older CPU, not too much older. It's a 12400, but
Mhm.
it's still like 2019 somewhere in there
Mhm.
CPU that I got for like $200 a few years ago, including the motherboard. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to move myself off the Intel platform because Intel has just been really bad, both with their BIOS as well as their just in general. Intel's been really bad lately, and I know there's been lots of problems with 13th and 14th gen, and I didn't want to upgrade to 13th or 14th gen, so I just went straight to AMD
Mhm.
9000 series. So I'm at 9600X on my CPU now, with 32 gigabytes of RAM, DDR5 at 6000 megahertz, jumping up from my 3200 that I'm currently at, and my motherboard is just it's just an Asus motherboard. So it's a name brand, but it's like a mid to low end board, but it doesn't matter. It'll get the job done, and that's essentially all I needed. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm
Okay.
doing today
Mhm.
after this, as well as you already know about my pipe situation. Yeah,
Yeah.
my
Um
sink exploded.
I know. So wild.
But yeah,
Um
I didn't really tell you what I did in Monster Hunter Wild. I just progressed the story a little bit. I'm like
uh
20, 21 hours in now. It's really tough playing on the Intel CPU that I'm on right now, so I'm dropping and going to AMD essentially. But what I did play was very fun. I essentially met the little boy who's like lost his parents. We found his parents' town and everything, and then we went on another hunt, and the hunt was to fight this monster that was terrorizing their town because it broke out of its containment pod that they had it in because they apparently had like these monsters they were genetically breeding that Jurassic Park vibes up in this bitch
yeah,
that
it sounds
didn't
like.
have to eat or do anything, but for some reason this one escaped and it's eating and doing bad things. So now I got to deal with it, and it was fun. I really enjoyed it. It was like a much smaller area to hunt the monster in, but it was really, really fun to do so. So I liked it a lot. I'm really liking Monster Hunter Wilds. I liked it enough that I spent $500 to rebuild my computer to play it specifically. So that should tell you how much I like Monster Hunter Wilds.
Hey, well, that's good. And
Hmm.
hopefully it will be really nice to play once you get your new computer. Nice way to
Yeah,
celebrate.
I'm gonna play it tonight. I'll
Yeah.
probably play CS first because there's never a night that I'm not playing CS with the boys. So
Ready to move on to news tidbits? I don't have any
Sure, let's do that.
any big ones, but just some little ones.
Yeah.
So Pokemon is going to get its own Lego set.
That's cool. I did see that. I saw that today. Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't really know too much other than it's coming next year. So
That's good.
Yeah. So that will be interesting to see kind of what that ends up panning out to be. Other things that I thought that were on there, news-wise, blitz-wise. So there's a rumor floating around, and this one is kind of a stretch, but who knows? Supposedly Switch 2 is going to have GameCube controllers in development. So there was a recent patent filed that if you've ever looked at kind of like pre-release patents, they're like very vague. Like they don't really show anything on them. A lot of times they might just have like, vague things. So, but there was a new controller patent that showed up, and it has the label for the FCC information on the back in the same place where it would have been on a GameCube controller, which was like, I think on like kind of behind the C stick on the backside. So people are like, "Oh, it's a weird placement." So it's obviously a GameCube controller, which I mean, it could be. Who knows? But we won't know for sure until it's there. Other things that kind of point towards that direction doesn't include NV or NFC, so it couldn't use like Amiibo, like some of Nintendo's other kind of classic controllers that they put out for the Switch. However, it is a Bluetooth controller, so that would be awesome if that's what it is. Also would probably point towards them doing some sort of GameCube virtual console or something like that finally. But yeah, so that's kind of nice on there rumor wise. Another rumor that kind of popped up, and this one is kind of one of those like take with a grain of salt rumors, but there's a little bit of enthusiasm behind it. So there was a person online recently, his name is Kiwi Talks, and he put out this kind of real glowing expectations for Metroid Prime 4, and basically said it's going to blow everything on the Switch 2 out of the water.
I saw that.
Yeah, I posted it to like our kind of group chat. And neither of you guys asked, but I'll explain why this is kind of probably a little bit more than just some random internet person guessing. So Kiwi Talks, and I've seen some of his YouTube videos before. So he kind of is like a historian for Metroid Prime games. He's gone through and kind of done breakdowns for Metroid Prime 1, 2, 3. And he's been very well connected with the people with Retro. Also, even to the fact that apparently, at least from what I had read, he had a video going over kind of the history and breakdown of Metroid Prime Remaster on the day it was released. So you might think to yourself, like, oh, that's pretty impressive. Someone would be able to get all that together, for a video game release on the day that's released. Metroid Prime Remaster was shadow dropped, if you remember.
Yes.
This man had information before that game came out.
That's true. Oh, damn. Yeah.
So clearly he's a little bit more well connected with the development teams than say your average person. So, if this was someone like, I don't even know what any of the other leakers' names are, but if this was just like some Joe Schmo leaker, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. Like, I think most people would speculate that Metroid Prime 4 is going to be, phenomenal. This one, it holds a little bit more weight than the other ones, I would say. So I think it's pretty reassuring, and also kind of leans into what I think a lot of us has already speculated, that Metroid Prime 4 will be a cross-generation title. Also actually probably explains a lot of why the game development has taken so long. My guess is that probably was originally a Switch title, from beginning to end. And then when they finished it up, Switch 2 was close enough that Nintendo was like, hey, you know what? Instead of stop working, why don't you just make it better? So that's kind of my thoughts on it, and I bet that's probably where things are going. And we're going to know in like 3 weeks. So, yeah, so that one's coming up there. But yeah, I think I know everyone on our podcast is excited for this game, so it'll be nice to see it like in person and kind of a more official, look at it. So there is that.
I do have a thing of news that's really funny that I read yesterday.
Yeah, sure, go for it. I think that's most of the exciting news that I have.
Okay, so this is funny, and it's also ridiculous.
Mhm.
Not Ubisoft. Sorry, I was looking at Ubisoft stuff about Assassin's Creed Shadows, but no, EA has put microtransactions
Mhm.
into a game that does not exist yet.
Okay.
So Skate 4, or whatever they are going to be calling the new Skate, currently has an alpha test going on. And
Uh-huh.
people have leaked that there are actually microtransactions in this game that is in alpha, has placeholder imagery in the game itself. You cannot buy, there is no pre-order website for it, there is no release date for the game or anything else. But you can buy in the alpha test with real money, not with like the fake currency they give you. You can actually pay money to test the market in this alpha test and buy microtransactions for Skate 4 that does not currently exist to the public.
Interesting.
That's a new form of wow, Ubisoft.
Yeah. I mean, Skate is one of those. Do you know what the microtransactions are for?
Clothing, boards, wheels,
Okay.
uh, that sort of thing.
So just general bullshit, like not
Yep.
anything useful.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, it's all the stuff you would have earned in the original Skate, you know?
Uh-huh.
But you now buy them with microtransactions, even in the alpha of the game instead.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, and I was thinking about it too. I'm like, Skate really doesn't seem like a game that's right for microtransactions, but yeah, I guess I just didn't figure what level they would go to with them.
They went to the
So
level of we took out the stuff that was earnable and made it only purchasable,
yeah.
which is
Uh
not good.
no, it's not. Although it's also still early enough, so who knows? Maybe they were just kind of like contemplating the idea and maybe they'll change their mind as things go through, but
But contemplating the idea and having people in your alpha test give you money to test this, and when they're already testing your alpha, that's kind of crazy.
yeah, it's kind of weird. Is it just like random people that are in the alpha test? Like how
I
do people get
I
chosen
think there
for it?
was I think there was a specific sign up a while back. I don't
Uh-huh.
know, but I do think it's both friends and family and random people that signed up that's
Okay.
currently running the alpha test. But like for the random people that signed up and got approved into the alpha test or whatever, eh, when it's like, oh, test the marketplace and we don't give you free currency, because if you like play an alpha of a game, right?
Yeah.
And there's some kind of like shop system, they give you the currency to run the shop, and like they give you that automatically so you could test the shop. You could purchase a certain amount of currency in the shop without using real money, but then you could still go through the transaction of using that currency to get
Uh-huh.
items for the alpha, which then allows you to like test that, and it allows them to test their system of the microtransactions in games. Like this happened with other games like Fragpunk, but like you didn't pay real money directly. Instead, you were given a certain amount that you could use so that you could buy items in the shop. But here they're like, nope, if we want you to test it, but you have to pay us for us to let you test it in this test that you already signed up for. And it's like, that's kind of insane.
Yeah, very strange. So
But you know what? That's
hmm.
also the exact kind of thing I would expect from EA.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm sure everyone that looked at it was like not surprised. I don't feel like I've seen that level of microtransactions in a skate or like that type of game in so long. Like I know there's still like microtransactions, rampant with like, some popular shooters and
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but not for this genre of game. I thought we were long
No, no.
past that. Well, apparently not. So, but I guess we'll see. Like I said, who knows? They might get the feedback from the testers and be like, "Ah, this is a dumb idea."
Yeah.
So, mhm. um, yeah. What else was I gonna say? Oh, there's another news story. I think this was in the last week, but it might have been a little bit further. But I know we haven't talked about it. Apparently, Ubisoft's been shopping around, maybe selling some of their IPs. I thought that was
Yes, I
interesting.
saw that. I saw that.
Mhm.
So currently, Tencent owns 10% of Ubisoft, but they also own 49% of global management, is what I think it's called. I have to
Mhm.
double check. I see. So Tencent owns 40. Okay, yeah, here it is. Tencent owns 49% of Guillemot Brothers LTM and has 5% voting rights for them. But Tencent also owns 10% voting rights in their own name. So they have the market share of Ubisoft and most of the power over Ubisoft because they've bought into their sister companies to own the large portion of their sister companies so that they can then form a hostile takeover essentially of Ubisoft. So currently Ubisoft is shopping around and it looks like they'll be selling their IPs such as Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six Siege, that sort of thing, off to Tencent in the future, if as like a contingency plan, if anything essentially fails, such as any other upcoming releases.
Okay.
So that's where we're currently at with them. I don't know how things are going to do, but we'll see.
Yeah,
it
it's
looks
really
like
going to depend on how Assassin's Creed
looks
does.
like Assassin's Creed Shadows is scoring really well, which is good. That's great. But there is that little problem of the fact that Assassin's Creed has always been a US and EU franchise, obviously. It's been like that's where the majority of their player base is, which is good because they have completely ostracized the Japanese away from wanting to play this game, period, and they've essentially washed their hands with it entirely. So if the US and EU don't pick up the slack, the place that they made this game based off of wants nothing to do with it. So they've already failed there. So they have to do well in the US and the EU for this game to sell. And I think with what we've been seeing from a lot of reviews lately, I don't think people are going to take reviews at their word. Because there's 9s and 10s across the board for Assassin's Creed Shadows right now. But here's the problem. There were also that for both Concord and Dragon Age Veilguard. So people aren't going to trust these people.
No.
Because there's clearly ulterior motives, and Ubisoft has already put into effect a zero harassment policy clause, but the way the clause is kind of written, it feels like they could claim anything as harassment, so just not liking the game would be seen as harassment from Ubisoft. Hoping that isn't what's going on here, but it does seem more like a censorship clause than a actual harassment clause. So here's hoping that that is not the case, that the game is good, and that maybe these reviews are actually legit. But Ubisoft is very untrustworthy, just in general, when it comes to things. And this game has a lot of controversy behind it. And I don't just mean like the made up controversy, like the grifters that are on YouTube and Twitter and stuff like that. I mean like legitimate controversy. Like they tried to make merch that literally was using a religious symbol of Japan as on a knockoff Funko Pop. That really completely destroyed any credibility they were going to have with the Japanese general public in a game called Assassin's Creed Japan. Originally, obviously it's Shadows now, but it was originally called Assassin's Creed Japan, and it takes place in Japan, and that sort of thing. So there's a fine line they're gonna have to walk here to actually not be sold off or bought off by Tencent, and I feel like they are already well in the know that any little thing that they say is going to be held under a microscope. And as such, they're having to have some kind of backup plan in place just in case things do fail.
Yeah.
I don't think, from everything I've seen, right? Everything I've seen, not looking at reviewers, because I don't trust reviewers as far as you could throw them. But from everything I've seen, all the previews and stuff right now, it looks like a fine, competent, and maybe even good game. But there are people shouting from the rooftops, it's the best one since Black Flag. And it's like, all right, I think this is being over embellished. And if this is being over embellished, what are they hiding? You know what I mean? They also fucked up today because they gave a reviewer permission to start streaming on Twitch at 7 a.m. When Ubisoft thought their thing said 7 p.m. because they can't read fucking time zones. And because of that, when that reviewer streamer streamed the game at 7 a.m. this morning, they instantly banned them on Twitch. The wrongfully banned them also because that streamer had written documentation that Ubisoft wrote off on them streaming at 7 a.m. And then Ubisoft was like, we didn't know it was 7 a.m. We thought it was 7 p.m. They're like, no, fucking read the time zones, you dipshit, essentially, you know?
Yeah.
And they got banned for something that was already given the okay with, but Ubisoft was too stupid to actually read things correctly. So they didn't think they gave the okay, so they issued a Twitch ban because of it and a DMCA. And so they are already fucking up. And this just started. And like the game could be as good as possible, but if they get like bad publicity because of stuff like I just mentioned, that's not good. The game's not going to sell. If you piss off big streamers like fan bases, your shit will go down the toilet very quickly.
Yeah. Yes, it will. I mean, that could have been. I mean, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that one. That could be, just kind of a administrative error or whatever. As long as they come out and publicly apologize, I think that
this happened an hour ago that they were banned. So this is like brand new stuff. So we'll see if they actually publicly apologize and how they handle it. But yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I agree with you. So Ubisoft has too much riding on this game release, and that could be troublesome for them. So hopefully they do well. I don't think anyone wants to see a big third party publisher collapse.
I don't want to see them collapse, but the way that they have been lately, the mismanagement of things, destruction of properties such as the Crew, completely taking it offline when people prove that it could still be played in offline mode and everything via other such things, and completely destroying the game's existence by removing it from being playable and not allowing people to play a game that they already purchased and just removing that rights from them. Doing stuff like that, claiming they're already going to do it for other games, doing things like changing up Rainbow Six Siege, which recently happened. It went to a new mode, a new like rebirth of Rainbow Six Siege, but they're kind of like Fortnite-ifying it, like Call of Duty-ifying it, where they have like crossover skins and stuff like that with stuff like The Boys and everything, which is very anti-Rainbow Six Siege. They're making a lot of missteps very quickly to the point where it's almost at a case where I would rather someone else have Ubisoft than Ubisoft. Like, I would rather someone else handle their properties and hopefully handle them better than they currently are, because Ubisoft is just fucking it up right now with their current plans. It's not good. It's not good. And I really hope that they either get their head out of their ass and fix everything and go back to the way things were and actually use their IPs correctly instead of making a Splinter Cell fucking mobile game that no one gives a shit about, or that sort of deal. But Ubisoft right now is kind of like Konami was when they lost Kojima. That's how bad Ubisoft is right now. And my take then was fuck Konami, I don't care if they die. And my take now is fuck Ubisoft, I don't care if they die. If they can't handle their IPs, give them to someone else. I mean, like, that's just how I feel right now.
Yeah, I think they really just need new management.
Really. They do. They need a full-on restructuring.
Yeah.
And I think if they're not willing to do that, then they got to go.
Yeah, I don't disagree. So, yeah, so I guess stay tuned. We'll see what happens with Ubisoft. This might be their last year. So, yeah. So there's that. Other than that, that's all I got news-wise. I really don't have anything else.
Yeah, I think that's it for me as well. My pizza just arrived. Yay, pizza.
You ready to wrap up then?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for listening to us. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to listen to all of our old episodes, they're available on game-crunch.com. If you want to reach out to us, you can send us an email at gamecrunchcast@gmail.com. Brandon.
Hello.
Any final thoughts?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. That's it. My name is Mike Anastasia. Find me online. I'm Clash of Penguin there or on your favorite gaming console. And until next week, game on.
Game on.
Bright lights call my name, pixel dreams all around. Monsters to defeat, no limits can be found. Controllers in my hand, game crunch, here we stand. Quests and heroes rise, worlds unfold, no disguise. Game on, we dive into the night. Game on, everything feels just right. Level up, let's go, mysteries to be found. Hidden treasures glow, new challenges abound. Starships fly and dragons soar through the enchanted door. Game crunch, we're never bored, we'll play forevermore. Game on, we dive into the night. Game on, everything feels just right. Level up, let's go, mysteries to be found. Hidden treasures glow, new challenges abound.
All right, there it is.
I saw a really funny image while I was like scrolling through Twitter during this. It said people lining up in 2026 outside of grocery stores to scalp Pokemon Lego kits.
Oh, jeez. I did see someone kind of mention something about, scalping on Reddit, and they were like, "Don't worry." They're like, Lego never has a supply issue, so they're like, it should catch up pretty quickly if there is any shortage. And I was like, oh, that's a good point. I don't think I'm, even with like the highly sought after like Mario stuff that they put out, like I always saw that stuff kind of available. I never saw it out of stock.
Same.
So.
Yeah, no, I feel you there. I think the Animal Crossing Lego kit was like the only one I ever saw out of stock, and that was like when it first came out.
And I'm sure it's like super available already.
It is right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I saw it just the other day.
Lego stuff that they've put out like looks really good. Even that new Mario Kart one looks.
It is, but it's so expensive, and I
know.
I don't have the time.
And I don't have the time. Yeah,
I don't have the time to put it together, and I don't have the space to display it. So it's like, you know.
Same to both. Yeah, they're really fucking expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it can be stressed.
My buddy for his birthday got the Mario Kart one like yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's not like the big Mario Kart one. Actually, I can just show you the image because he posted it in shit. I'll go post it in general chat real quick. So he's been building Lego kits a lot lately, and he got these 3.
No, stop fucking thing. Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that Mario Kart one yet.
Me neither. This was the first time I saw it.
I don't think I've seen a Mario Lego Toad either. That's kind of wild looking.
Yeah, that we call it that cursed because it looks cursed as fuck. Like, look at them. And the Mario minifigs are also cursed. Like, those are, it's a me nightmare fuel.
Yeah, especially the ones that are like they talk or whatever and like eye changing thing. Yeah. Oh yeah, it says right on there. Yep, I agree.